Alhamdulillah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We're waiting for some brothers to finish Isha prayer and join us, inshallah. The topic tonight, if Allah Azza wa Jal loves Muslims, why He lets them suffer. Sometimes they don't put an S with the verb when they talk about Allah, isn't it? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So both are correct. Which is a topic really need discussion. Say what people think, how will they answer the question. The idea, inshallah, that we'll bring more of these controversial issues, because there is a lot of people who are now moving around spreading the wrong understanding to Islam and trying to confuse our youngsters and confuse people who are not actually well educated about Islam. So here we'll let's make it a bit smaller. So you could see the slides. OBS program should have a function to fit to the window. They don't fit to the window. I noticed previous section, previous class, it fitted the video to the OBS, but when I enlarged it in on the computers, actually it didn't show. Went to smaller. So if you allow me to make a start, I'll just go through this. So if Allah loves Muslims, why He would let them suffer? The example given to us by atheists and some confused Muslims, if you have a child and you are really a very clever doctor and he gets an illness and you can cure him, why would you let him suffer? Or not a child, let's say your brother, your age. You are 13, your brother is 28, and you are a very clever doctor and he has an illness. Why you refrain from getting him better and feel well? Why would you refrain?
Maybe he did something wrong and this is his punishment.
You're punishing him. But you have the power to forgive him.
He wants him to learn. Maybe. And so he knows the consequences.
Consequences of exposing himself to the germs, you think, and yeah, to learn a lesson, and then you keep him to suffer, like Ayub alayhi salatu wasalam. He was suffering for 18 years. If Allah loves Ayub or loved Ayub, why wouldn't He cure him?
I think there are probably multiple kind of facets to the answer. One is that when Allah make His believers suffer, it's actually a way of cleaning them up. So
suffering, cleaning them out.
Yeah. So their sins will be forgiven. They will get.
So they suffer, they get their sins forgiven. Yes. Yeah. Possibly. Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing is that Allah is not, most of the time Allah is not causing the suffering unless He wants to punish people.
Yeah, Allah didn't cause the suffering, you caused it yourself.
People have caused the suffering themselves, Allah just didn't intervene. So because there's one thing is the power of Allah, and the other thing is the sunnah of Allah.
Power of Allah and the sunnah of Allah.
Yeah. So in Allah's power is that Allah can make everything right, but it's not sunnah of Allah. Allah let things go by themselves.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Allah, like Allah did it so He could test him to see if he will repent.
What did Ayub not do when he was ill for 18 years? Sulaiman.
To test
What Ayub did not do? He didn't complain and he didn't. Yeah, he didn't lose faith. So he didn't do one thing important.
He didn't ask for the sickness to.
Yeah, he didn't ask for a cure. He didn't ask for what can I take, or Allah, what can I take. He said, when he asked him, he said, go to that spring, have a bath there. It's enough to cure you. And he did, and he was cured. He could have asked this 18 years ago. When Yusuf alayhi went to prison, what did he say? And Prophet Muhammad said, I wouldn't say it. When he went to prison, what did Yusuf say? And Prophet Muhammad wouldn't say it.
That I would rather go to prison
Yeah.
than to...
يا رب قال ربي السجن أحب إلي مما يدعونني إليه. Prison is better for me than what they invite me to do, commit the adultery. What Prophet Muhammad said, I asked when he was in a similar situation. Not like that, but he was in stress, and he said one thing when he came down from Taif.
He said, Allah, if you are happy, then I'm happy, but if you make it easier, that will be better.
رحمتك أوسع لي. Yeah, I know you can do it. I know you can do it. And he did it. Delegation came from Medina, accepted Islam, invited them to Medina, problem solved. So it is in the hand of Allah or your hand. Allah Azza wa Jal said, obviously, we'll answer that through the lecture. It's in the hand of Allah, but Allah Azza wa Jal wanted you to follow His Sunnah and ask for it. The rizq in the hand of Allah, the wealth, sustenance, but you have to ask for it. This is His Sunnah to ask for it. So His law, like coronavirus, similar to ta'un. Umar ibn Khattab went to a city and there's ta'un in it, the plague. Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah said to him, are you running away from the qadar of Allah? This is the will, this decision for plague to happen was taken by Allah. Are you running away from the qadar of Allah Azza wa Jal? He said, we're running from the qadar of Allah to another qadar of Allah, which is protection. Put the mask, isolate yourself. Don't enter a place where the germ, that's a qadar, that's a qadar. So qadar is the law of Allah. I don't know the plan of Allah. If Allah wants me to die, I will die anywhere. I don't need to get even the... Like I was listening to a man in I think in Jeddah, or Riyadh. He fell from the 10th floor. A child. He was a child. Fell 10th floor. He landed on a tree, and from the tree down, I went running. So he fell from 10th floor, went running. When he was 70, he fell in the house, broke his hip, had a head injury, died. 10th floor, he didn't die, but a small fall. He just fell on the floor. وما كان لنفس أن تموت إلا بإذن الله كتابا مؤجلا ومن يرد ثواب الدنيا نؤته منها ومن يرد ثواب الآخرة نؤته منها وسنجزي الشاكرين. So the law of Allah Azza wa Jal, He will give all. If you want luxury of this life, Allah will give it to you, but you have to pay for it. If you want luxury of the next life, He will give it to you, but you have to pay for it. من كان يريد العاجلة عجلنا له فيها ما نشاء لمن يريد. If you want to become a millionaire in this life, you will get it. Allah will not refrain. But He wouldn't give everybody. He said, لمن نشاء, لمن نريد. The one we like Him to have. But He has to put the effort, the time and effort. There's many people who try to become millionaires, they don't. They go through 10 failing business, but there's one who will succeed. So Allah Azza wa Jalla knows who actually deserve to get that, and He will give it to him, providing he make the effort for it, and Allah will not refrain. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, إن يمسسكم قرح فقد مس القوم قرح مثله وتلك الأيام نداولها بين الناس وليعلم الله الذين آمنوا ويتخذ منكم شهداء والله لا يحب الظالمين. So Allah Azza wa Jalla here in Uhud, because they lost the war, there's another ayah will come for that event as well. If you are hate, other people were hate like you, and this is the life. One day you win, one day you lose, one day you make a mistake. Because in the other ayah, فلما فشلت حتى إذا فشلتم وتنازعتم في الأمر وعصيتم من بعد ما أراكم ما تحبون. They saw the win, they saw the money and the cattle and things, it will be theirs. But because they failed to obey the Prophet ﷺ, they started arguing among themselves. They disobeyed the Prophet. He says, stay on the mountain. They didn't. They were hit. So Allah will not bend the rules. Even the Prophet ﷺ with them broke the rules. If Allah will make them win, in spite of disobeying the Prophet, what would have happened? What would have happened? They will keep disobeying the Prophet. So that's the rule. The rule is the rule. The law is the law. That's your red line. Cross the red line, you get hit. Even if you are Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and the Sahaba, we know all of them. In Hunayn, the same. They ran away. So that's the law of Allah. You can't bend the law of Allah. You cannot refrigerate the law of Allah. كلا نمد هؤلاء وهؤلاء من عطاء ربك وما كان عطاء ربك محظورا. The gift of Allah is not a friend from Muslim or non-Muslim. You have to put the effort. How many, go and ask the Muslims, how many of them know, and I don't want to ask you, how many people know how they managed to get the semiconductors for the computer and the mobile phone and things? Don't raise your hand, but very few. But the guy who discovered that, he's been trying to find out that, can I move the electrons in one direction? He noticed that some elements have more electrons, some elements have less electrons. How can I make a one direction move? And he put the broom inside the silicon and done. The whole world changed. But he's working on it. He's working in depth on it. So how many of us in the lab, I mean, I don't want to praise myself, but I've done most of the experiments in my physics and chemistry book in my house. They were not doing it in the school. And they caused explosion in my house. All my family ran to the room. What have you done? Nothing. Nothing. And what I did, I was generating hydrogen from chlor and sodium hydroxide, HO, I forgot the formula now. And it reached the stage, that there is two parts of oxygen, one part of hydrogen, or two parts of hydrogen, one part of oxygen in the bottle. And the collapse explosion happened. Nothing exploded outside, but that collapse generated a massive sound that all my family came from the house. They thought the whole room exploded. I mean,
impressed.
You are
impressed.
She wasn't. It wasn't. I was 16 years old. And I'm glad that my mom allowed me to stay in the house.
Okay.
But I want to generate. Imagine, I want to generate chlor. 1 in a million, you're dead. But if you put that sodium in, I mean, I'm sure some of you know, you generate chlor. I don't want to say it because otherwise some of you might want to. But you're dead, 1 in a million. Well, my challenge is how I can't do it. Yeah, I've done it. But this is what happened. They've been doing these experiments and this research and this, and they got what they want. Allah will not refrain from giving them, whether they believe or not believe. يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات. So if you have the knowledge, you get up. Ilm here, general knowledge. A lot of Muslims try to say, oh, limited it to fiqh. Or know your Fatiha, and know your wudu, and know your ghusl. And they say, when they say some of them, women only need to be taught Surah An-Nur and stay at home. I don't know who told many Afghanis about this. Whether they teach them Surah An-Nur or not, I don't know. But it's one of the things we don't, obviously it's wrong. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. Again, another one. That's those who fear Allah most are those who have the knowledge. Knowledge, because they know. When you come, I mean, I was talking to one of my friends. I said, you will have difficulty explaining to non-Muslim about Qadar, how Allah knows the future. Because one atheist said to me, if Allah already wrote what's going to happen to the Day of Judgment, why dua? Why you make dua? He's going to change, go back to the beginning before He created and change? The answer to it, anybody knows the answer? Yeah.
I heard that when your teacher said that it's possible that you can change your destiny.
So why you do dua then?
Dua.
Not you. I'm not meaning you. You are dua, but I don't mean you.
It's the Qadr which is written, it's not that because of his writing that we are doing it, because he's already seen it.
How he saw it? Because already seen it. How?
Because he is the Dahr, so he's in the future, he is.
Yeah, because he's a dahr, he's in the future. Where in Islam you can prove that? Important event took place in the life of the Prophet ﷺ to prove that. Very important event. Mi'raj. Mi'raj, Allah showed him the future. Allah took him to the future, saw the future, showed Jannah, saw things happening, and then looked back. The Prophet ﷺ, imagine the Prophet ﷺ in Jannah now looking back what happened from the time he left Mecca till he entered Jannah after the end of life. And he saw. This is why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came back and told us about events which will take place. He stood one day from morning till the evening telling people about this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. It's happening now. I mean, like, people, the cowboys will erect high buildings. And who's erecting high buildings? Anybody knows? Who are experts? Yeah, but they are not, yeah, the Arabs, yeah, those camels, but more than that, it's not actually the Arab who actually building them. The Red Indians, they have the ability, they're called cowboys, they have the ability to walk on the metal at 56th floor and not walk like walking on the floor. They have the ability to balance, the Red Indian. This is why it took place in America, this high building. So, ulama will value Allah Azza wa Jal. And that Allah Azza wa Jal in the future, looking back, wrote everything happened because He's the first, He's the last, and He's in the middle. He's the first without a start, the last without an end. Because He's the last, He saw everything happened and He wrote it. That's extremely difficult for us to understand, but they proved it scientifically. When you have high speed, your time shortened. They put atomic clock in 4 planes moved around the earth. Atomic clock, your clock here move every second, the pendle. In your digital clock, every 64,000, every second it moves 64,000 time. The atomic clock uses a cesium. It will move 9 billion times plus, quite few numbers. So this atomic clock on the plane were 4,000 fraction from the 9 billion less than the atomic clock on Earth. So the plane moving around slowed down, the clock slowed down by 4,000 digits out of the 9 billion, which is enough scientifically to say, yes, the faster you are, the shorter your time. The speed of Allah Azza wa Jal is infinite. His time is zero. He's there and there and there, and He wrote everything. Scientists now started accepting that that's possible, mathematically possible. We've done it physically. So our Prophet told us that, yes, I went to the future, saw Jannah, saw Jahannam, and punished in Jahannam, so Jannah, people rewarded in it. So ulama will know, value Allah more. وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ. If you don't work, you're not going to get it. Whether you are in Somalia, whether you are in Egypt. Yes, brother?
So going back to your other paragraph about knowledge, I think knowledge is misunderstood easily. When you talk about knowledge, people think it's the religious side of it, not the scientific one.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier.
No, that's right.
They see teach ladies Surah An-Nur, put them at home.
That's right. So,
Why Surah An-Nur?
Women, it's related to lots of laws about women.
But what's specific in Surah An-Nur? Surah An-Nur.
Yeah? Yeah, stay at home.
No, it's Surah Al-Ahzab, that's Qarna fi Buyutikum. But what's in Surah An-Nur? Zina.
Yeah, adultery.
The adultery, the punishment for adultery. So, so teach them that they shouldn't commit adultery. Obviously, there is in it on the hijab as well. But some scholars restricted to fiqh. That's the Muslim. But no, it's all knowledge. Now,
that's why I said, if you get someone who's got personal physics, you might be accused of spending all this time, wasting all this time in worldly affairs. It's like when after 9/11, I think 3 years after 9/11, someone did a research in one of the universities in the Middle East, Cairo University, some university.
Yeah.
About 80% of the graduates were graduating from Islamic studies. So the question was asked, hang on a minute, what about elements of the war was linked to foreigners in your country and foreign intervention and all that. Therefore, should you not focus on more?
Because they were restricting their knowledge to religion. They're saying you are generating terrorists.
No. That's what they were saying. They were saying that you've got a lot of foreigners working in your country. You rely on foreigners. You
Yeah.
don't like foreigners.
So because you are not following, don't have the knowledge, you rely on foreigners.
That's right.
Yeah, the same in a lot of Gulf states. They don't. They bring everybody: teacher, the taxi driver, the doctor, the surgeon, everybody. The only people they don't bring police. This is why there's stampede in the Hajj and things. Now, وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ. Again, work. You have to work in all aspects. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ asked one, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he said, who will learn Hebrew? Because we need people who know the language of other people. He learned it in 3 weeks. Hebrew. How many of you learn Arabic in 3 weeks? Marwan said half an hour. But I want the board to give me another 5 minutes because we'll just finish the subject, inshallah. So bear with us. So وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ. There's a lot of ayah that Allah Azza wa Jalla wants you to ask for goodness in this life. آتنا في الدنيا حسنة واكتب لنا في هذه الدنيا حسنة ورحمتي وسعت كل شيء فسأكتبها الذين يتقون in this life وقيل للذين اتقوا بعد أنزل ربكم قالوا خيرا الذين أحسنوا في هذه الدنيا حسنة. You will get good life in this life. You will get good life in this life. That's in Surah Al-A'raf, Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Nahl, Surah Al-Nahl, Surah Al-Zumar, Surah Al-Nahl again. So you need, if you are a really good Muslim, you should be very rich in this life. Very rich, very educated, powerful, blah, blah, blah. This is what the Muslim became. I mean, Umayyad dynasty and Abbasi dynasty, the time of Abu Bakr, Umar, more than half the world at that time became under their control. Harun al-Rashid stood on his the roof of his house and he saw a crowd. He said, go and reign wherever you want. Your kharaj will come here. Your zakah, your kharaj or tax will come here. So because he vast empire of faith. The same in doing certain nur, that those who do good deeds, Allah will make them in charge of earth. They will be Khalifa on earth. Allah will put them. Not they put themselves, like many Muslims, will make a coup and take over running this country, that country. They only survived 1.5 years in Syria when the Muslims took over in 1961. Survived 1 year in Egypt when Morsi took charge. And then kicked out. Why? Because Allah didn't appoint you. You went to put yourself. And the end result is you might suffer here. It's expected. Allah told you, don't get out. Told Adam alayhi salam, don't listen to shaitan because you will get out of paradise. If you go out of paradise, you will suffer. So that's by design, by programming. If you leave Jannah, it's not going to be an easy life. I was reading a hadith today. The Prophet ﷺ said that Adam was 60 feet long, 60 zira'. 60 zira' mean around 45 meters tall. When you go, anybody been to Hebron? To Khalil? Have you seen the grave of Ibrahim alayhi salam?
Just saw it from the top in the village before. They didn't let us go down.
It's quite long. It's from here to the wall there. It's around 4 meters. So whether Ibrahim was 4 meters or not, I'm not surprised the Kaaba built it this high. Probably he was very tall. So it was, Allah Azza wa Jalla said that. And this is Allah Azza wa Jalla said, لَيْسَ بَأَمَانِيكُمْ وَلَا أَمَانِي أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ مَنْ يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا يُجْزَ بِهِ. If you do something bad, you get the results. You harm yourself, you harm others. You will be punished by that you've done. And when the ayah came, the Sahaba were very worried that we will be punished. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Abu Bakr, and also Abu Bakr was asking, don't you get sick? He said, yes. Don't you get tired? He said, yes. Don't you get sad? He said, yes. Don't have problems hit you? He said, yes. He said, that's the jaza. So don't worry. If you are more sick than others, Allah will clear you, will clean you. But if you don't study, you're making so. I mean, I'm retired now. I don't have a job and things. I teach in the school and I teach in the Friday and things. I find myself always have to listen to something new and learn something new and revise something I learned. I did the 4 or 5 courses since I retired. The economics course, the philosophy course, the Solihull Fiqh course, the Solihull Hadith course. And alhamdulillah, I'm trying to memorize the Quran. But you can do more than me. But don't stay static. وَلَقَدْ صَدَقَكُمُ اللَّهُ وَعْدَهُ تَحْسُونَهُم بِإِذْنِهِ. This is the ayah I read before. حتى إذا فشلتم, you failed to respond, you failed to listen, you start arguing between yourself, تنازعتم في الأمر وعصيتم, and you disobeyed. After Allah showed you what you really loved, the money, and Allah exposed you, because some of you wanted this life. When they saw the money, the cattle, the spoils, they left the mountain and went down. Lost Ahud. And some want akhirah. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, I never knew that among us some people who wants dunya. He thought all of us want akhirah, until he heard the surah, the ayah, that Allah said some of you wanted dunya. He thought all of us want akhirah. Yeah, some people don't. You'll be surprised, some come to the mosque for whatever reason. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. So the summary, Allah doesn't make you sick, but if you ask Him to help when you are sick, ask Him. He will help you. But you have to go to the doctor and see the specialist, and go and read about what you can do. Read about I mean, we had problems with the muscles and pains, me and my wife. We went to the doctor, the specialist, the X-ray, the physio, the ultrasound, whatever. And then we went and we learned a lot from YouTube. So you have to put all these together, and then fine, alhamdulillah, many things improve. But we put a lot of time and effort and went private because you want to wait for NHS. Yeah, sell your mobile or sell something, pay the private. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. My topic is going to be like this, one will be like, once you're dead, you're dead. There's no life after death, and you need to prove to me there is. Is destiny, you're destined to do whatever, this qadar, we'll go to it in more details, inshallah. And if you have a topic like this, please come, because this half an hour is for you, for all of us to talk.
I was going to ask you, just mention about that people should do things for this life as well as for the next one. But what about examples like Sayyidina Abu Dharr Ghafari? He led a very different kind of a life. Do you know his story? I'm sure you do.
The people differed the time of the Prophet and now. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when the Prophet was asking for money to support Tabuk war, Abu Bakr came with all his money, Omar came with half his money, people different. And Uthman ibn Affan, he kept coming with the money. And there's people who didn't even go. And they were accepted, the three who stayed behind and things. So people differ, but we have to be one of them at least. Abu Dharr al-Ghifari brought all his tribe, became Muslim. So Abu Dharr al-Ghifari had a lot of things.
No, but he did, but he left. He led a very...
He was a bit tough, a bit tough on people. Salman al-Farisi, when he became a governor of Iraq, he wouldn't have a house. He was living under trees. Then they said, you can't be our governor, have no house, to come and knock on the door, we'll find you. And he agreed for them to build the house, and he lied on the floor, make my majah, that's the house. It's like a grave or something. So a very small house he had. So when he came and saw the Sahaba in Medina, how big house and things, and said, you think you're going to live forever on this earth? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. But in this life, in this time, I mean, I have private number plate. I have private number plate because we're Muslim also. But my teacher in the 60s and 70s always drive brand new Mercedes. He had business. Very expensive car. People will be lucky if you have a bike at that time. And he insisted we must become rich. He insisted on us. He insisted we must get qualifications. That's why I came to Britain. Get qualification. Don't ever stop learning.
So that's another thing.
Yeah, and he
asking for people to earn more and more money, it makes
both. And your Umar ibn Khattab said, Allah make dunya in my hand, not in my heart.
That's it.
Yeah, but that's subhanallah, subhanakallah wa bihamdika.